Hello, guys. Welcome to yet another episode of Football Podcasts. It's been a while. We were distracted, not getting enough time to make records podcasts. Uh, Today we don't have Asis with us, but I have Sandeep with me. And what a what a tournament of Euro, man! I mean,
Yeah,
I'm totally blown with what I've seen until now. So, what's your take?
yeah. Actually, when you just said we were distracted and were not able to make videos, we were actually watching Euros, and it was worth it totally. Um, we will try to cover the tournament quickly, starting from the group stage to the quarters that just finished. There have been some immense competition going on, especially if you see the Group F. Group of Death was worth it, as we expected.
Totally.
All the matches were super entertaining. Even we didn't expect Hungary to come out as such surprising underdogs. They gave tough competition to France, Germany, and Portugal. How did you like the? I think in the group stage, one of the best thriller matches was the Portugal-Germany match. Gosens was amazing.
Totally. Man, he took the left hand side completely, and he was just running up and down, defending, creating chances, scoring goal, assisting. So what else do you want from a left back man?
And the exact opposite was Semedo for Portugal. Complete disappointment. He's a complete waste, man. And then got
He was
injured.
invisible.
Yeah. In almost every match of Portugal, the Semedo position was being exploited. Portugal had a really promising squad, but unfortunately things didn't work out up to the expectations. Bruno was um, also invisible, didn't really make an impact. Diaz was also not at his best. The defense was very sluggish. Only the main man stepped up as always, Cristiano Ronaldo. When you look at Germany, Germany had some good performances. Cruz, we need to give homage to Cruz. It was his last major international tournament, as he recently announced his retirement. What a career!
He has been the crux, man. He has been the crux.
Joachim Low's last match for Germany came against England, and Hansi Flick will be taking over. How do you rate Joachim Low's career with Germany?
And first of all, no more sniffing fingers. So I'll miss that.
Yes.
Low has been good with Germany, 15 years of service. Grooming players, I mean, Kroos, Neuer, Muller, Hummels. I mean, you can look at those players. I mean, they all have developed under Low. So, I mean, what he has done for German football will be remembered. 2014 World Cup, when they needed a winner, he made that crucial change. Yes, there were disappointments along the way, but I think Hansi Flick will just do fine. I think he has like worked under him, and he knows German team in and out. Worked with Bayern Munich as well, so I don't think there will be much transition in the gameplay, but I think we can see more attacking framework in place for Germany, and they will definitely give a run in the next FIFA tournaments for sure.
Yeah, the golden generation of Germany was something else, but again, continuing that legacy had to be difficult. But they did well. The current generation of the German national team also has immense potential. There is a lot of talent in the team, and yeah, maybe they will hopefully look for another successful venture in the 2022 World Cup. What do you have the take on the French national team's performance this time?
I mean, they were favorites going into this tournament, but as the tournament progressed, uh, there was a hiccup. I think Mbappe in particular was creating problems at front. He wasn't taking chances, not creating anything. I think in total he had just one assist.
Yeah, against Hungary.
I think the player of his caliber needs to deliver. I mean, of course, he's 22 years old. You just cannot expect everything out of him. But when you're talking about Mbappe, who is supposed to take the legacy of Ronaldo and Messi, then I think performances do count. I think they are visible in front of the crowd, and um, I think Mbappe has been self-centric at times. In the team, outside the team, I think he has some problems with the team and the management. You must have heard about Giroud's comments. He certainly favors Benzema. Then Rabiot, who wasn't quite happy with the team, his mother came out, started pointing fingers at the players management, stuff like that. So I don't think something is going wrong. Kante was totally invisible. That you can say it's because of fatigue.
Mm-hmm.
Pogba was pulling strings in the midfield, but there was something lacking in the final third. Creating chances enough, but not enough to.
Yeah,
They too need refreshment going forward.
yeah, I think even if Mbappe didn't step up, they had a veteran in the squad this time, superstar who could, on whose shoulders the team could rely upon, Benzema, and Benzema delivered as well. He did his part. He made sure that the goals come in. But
But you cannot expect Benzema to step up every game.
Yeah,
right.
But I think the
I mean,
major problem was the defense for France. Okay, yeah, the main stars didn't perform, but we shouldn't ignore the fact that the defense was very sluggish, very bad in terms of discipline. Kimpembe, Varane are not that impressive a duo as Varane and Umtiti used to be in the 2018 World Cup. Koundé was very good in his overall season, and we were expecting him to deliver good performance here. But again, you don't get that much playtime also to adapt to the team. Koundé also couldn't make that much impact, and Lenglet is complete disappointment. The Switzerland match
Man, he was just dancing around in the defense position. I think
lot of
he
defensive
wasn't.
errors.
He was nowhere on the caliber of French defense. Totally disappointed.
Defense
the way he
needs a lot
performed.
of improvements for the French team, and the CDMs also couldn't cover much, obviously because of fatigue. Pogba did his part in terms of creating chances and holding the ball and all, but Kante was disappointing. But yeah, of course, again, the Group F as a whole has a valid excuse of fatigue, because all the players in this three teams, especially Portugal, France, and Germany, have players that play at the very highest level and a lot of matches in a season, and again come to a tournament where they have such a competitive group. So fatigue is definitely an excuse, but there is a lot to work on for all these three teams. Let's take a look at the other side. What is your take on Italy? Starting from the Turkey-Italy match.
And they were supposed to be dark horses, right?
But they are the contenders.
They are tournament favorites.
Now. Yeah.
Tournament favorites now. I think they've gone 33 games unbeaten.
Yeah.
Just 2 goals conceded in the entire tournament. We'll talk about England also, but for now, Italy, 2 goals conceded. Very impressive. I mean, the whole team they just move forward like a single unit. When they're ensuring that the midfield is covered, the defensive partner of Chileni and Bonucci, Donnarumma, man, his hands are everywhere.
And
And
they are playing too much energetic
one
football
person,
actually. Italy is playing with a lot of passion. They means they're you watch their gameplay, it's so much entertaining even if they are not scoring for a full 90 minutes, like, just like against the match against Austria. It didn't sum up within regular time and went up to extra time, but still it was so much entertaining.
every other player is chipping in, if you see, from Locatelli, Borelli, and then there's Immobile, mm, Chileni, Bonucci. I mean, and
Chiesa,
Spinazzola, man.
Barella, Berardi,
Chiesa.
Verratti, all of these are playing so good.
Everyone is Jorginho, man.
Yeah,
Last match, he completed 70 out of 73 passes. So
you,
it's such an underrated performance, man.
yeah. You look at the dribbles, you look at the shots, the saves, the tackles, everything top notch. That is, Italy is the perfect example of good training, good discipline, and it's all visible in their gameplay. They're so much focused, they're so much passionate, and they want to just keep on winning matches and keep on extending their streak, whosoever they come against. So Italy is definitely playing some amazing football. Definitely favorites for winning the tournament. But we have another favorite too, Southgate's men.
It's coming home.
Maybe.
I think there's one thing we need to discuss here is the defensive mindset Southgate is having. Playing with four defenders, then two holding midfielders, Brazilians. Okay,
Yeah,
and
sometimes it gets
Jordan
five-man
Pickford.
defense
Okay,
also.
and then rest. They're just yeah. I mean, you may say they are not playing entertaining football, fine, but they are grinding results.
Hmm.
They are winning matches. I mean, defense wins you titles, right? I mean, this is what exactly Southgate is trying to do. Two semi-finals and two major tournaments. This is not bad for a manager who's been heavily criticized for not selecting or picking players.
Yeah, yeah. I think this is the only significant difference between Italy's gameplay and England's gameplay. Italy is playing kind of more risk football, and in course of that they sometimes end up conceding. But England is playing a lot more cautious and precautionary football. But in the end, they are managing to get results. Yeah, I mean, okay, they are playing defensive in a defensive mindset, but still, they deserve credit for going until semi-finals without conceding a single goal in this tournament.
There has to be one more factor that needs to be considered. Like England has played all their matches at
At
home
home,
league except one in Rome.
the phone, yeah.
Okay, so I think the fatigue issues are not that visible for England. But again, you have to win matches. You just cannot say fine, just winning it. But again, everything is in their favor. They're making it count, and yeah, I'm just waiting for a final between England and Italy.
Let's take a look at the journey of Denmark. Losing their star player at the beginning of the tournament, and it was a shock to see what happened to Ericsson on the pitch and how the football world reacted to it. Everyone paid their tributes to Denmark, and now that he is fine, we are glad that he is all right now. But how impressive it is that the way Denmark changed its gameplay after losing Ericsson, completely transformed.
I mean, what I understood is they were very much focused on Inter's main man, Ericsson. But when he's not playing, so the game is like open to Denmark. So they are just not focused on passing it to the midfielder to like initiate the play. I think the whole team is moving forward, and in the defense, Hazard, I mean, rock solid, not letting anything go past him. Even the goalkeeper too, Dolberg,
Yeah,
and those finishes.
yeah,
We cannot rule out Wilson. Man, whenever he comes in, I think he has delivered.
yeah.
Also
Even if he
deserves
doesn't
some credit.
score, he
And
creates chances also.
Hoiberg too is like holding the midfield and the defense at times. Very strong on the right hand side. And
We means Dolberg has been literally the most important player of this team. I think the way he has been scoring in important matches consistently so far. And we also had a similar case of underdog coming far in the tournament. This tournament has honestly been a tournament for underdogs only. The contenders have faced early exit. So Czech Republic, yeah, Czech Republic faced defeat to Denmark. They also had a pretty good run.
all thanks to Stick.
Yeah,
Man, I didn't know Stick before this tournament, man. He has literally made an impact.
the surprise player of the
And
tournament.
Locatelli,
But
like
we
he has been
didn't
good
we
with
didn't know at all Schick, if you see, and he's now the joint top scorer, tied with Cristiano.
Ronaldo.
5 goals is pretty huge, man,
Agreed.
for the tournament. Yeah.
In a European tournament, man.
Yeah. If what is your take on the Spanish side? How strong do you think the Spanish side is?
They're actually unpredictable, I believe.
Very
You do
unpredictable.
not expect anything from them. You always see Morata and you're like, okay, fine, he is missing those goals. But I think that was a game against Croatia. His goal in the extra time proved decisive for the entire Spanish team.
That goal actually
Like,
changed the game completely after that. I mean, the Croatia team lost its spirit after that goal.
I mean, Croatia did very well to hold on to the game and scoring 2 late goals.
That was
to
one
ensure,
crazy game
it ends in
actually.
a draw. But I think Morata showed grit, and I mean that goal was very special. I would say, with what Morata has been facing criticism, I think he deserves some credits there. I think
Yeah.
he is one of the reasons I think Spain has progressed. I can say that. And there are other players who needs mention. I think Laporte switching from France to Spain. I think it's one of the decisions you would say, fine. I mean, I did it.
Yeah.
I mean, France are out of the tournament. He's in the semifinals.
Exactly. So nobody saw that coming, and especially when you are taking the place of Sergio Ramos in the defense. That is one huge uh, sh- shoes to fill. So Laporte did great, and Ferran Torres. Ferran Torres has also been immense for the Spanish team. He is
Immense.
one amazing talent we we're going to see in the coming years, I think, as a striker. From talent, I recall now Pedri. What a talent Pedri is.
Pedri has played around 61 matches, and he's just 18.
And the things he can do
One complete
at
season with
this age.
Barcelona and
Yeah.
recording a total 61 matches is no joke actually. And the way he has been performing, like moving the ball forward and playing it in the spaces, making things happen in the middle. No one would expect that from an 18-year-old man. He is some talent you like everyone needs to watch out for.
मज़ा आया।